Well, it's another beautiful day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning, world. I'm leaving out for work now, and as usual, I'm going to be listening a podcast and I'll be sharing it with everyone. So listen along with me.
The world believed Alexander Kingsley had everything: money, power, control. By day, he ruled boardrooms and bent markets to his will, a man no one dared to challenge. But every night, he returned to a mansion filled with silence, broken routines, and three little girls who hated bedtime, hated the quiet, and no longer waited for the man they once called daddy. The triplets didn't reject the nannies because they were difficult. They rejected them because every goodbye felt like losing their mother all over again. Each woman who left confirmed what grief had already taught them, that love never stayed. Alexander believed their pain had turned them rebellious, something discipline or distance could fix, until the night he realized the truth: his daughters weren't angry at all. They were grieving him. And then a quiet maid arrived, one who didn't shout, didn't threaten, and didn't leave, no matter how badly the girls tried to push her away. Watching her stay, Alexander was forced to face what no amount of money could silence. His empire wasn't crumbling because he was failing at business, it was crumbling because he had forgotten how to come home. Alexander Kingsley stands at the top of the city every morning, looking down through glass walls that cost more than most people's homes. From this height, the world looks orderly, predictable. Numbers move the way he tells them to. Markets respond. Boards obey. Headlines praise him as brilliant, ruthless, untouchable. It is the only place he still feels in control. His mansion, hidden behind iron gates and silent hedges, is another world entirely. A place no magazine photographs. A place where control has been slipping through his fingers for years. The house is too big. Every sound echoes. Every hallway carries memories that refuse to stay buried. Alexander's wife used to fill this place with warmth. With laughter that traveled from room to room. With music playing softly while dinner cooked. With bedtime routines that made sense of chaos. She had been the center of their universe. Then cancer took her slowly. Methodically. Month by month, piece by piece, until even her smile became an act of courage. Alexander remembers the last night clearly. The hospital room dim, machines whispering. Her hand in his, already colder than it should have been. She had looked at him, eyes tired but sharp, and whispered, "Don't disappear on them." He promised her he wouldn't. Promises made in grief are easy. Keeping them is something else. 3 years later, the promise lies buried under contracts, flights, meetings, and 12-hour days. Alexander tells himself he had no choice. He had to keep the company alive. Had to stay strong. Had to provide. He confuses provision with presence. His daughters, Elara, Noelle, and Brielle, are 7 now. Identical faces that once lit up when they heard his footsteps. Faces that now harden the moment he enters a room. They live in luxury most children only dream of. Bedrooms the size of apartments. Closets filled with dresses they never wear. Toys stacked so high they spill onto the floors. None of it matters. The girls have learned a truth no one taught them on purpose: everyone leaves. Nannies come and go like seasons. Some arrive cheerful and confident, armed with degrees and glowing recommendations. They rarely last. And chaos. By the third, resignation letters appear on Alexander's desk like quiet accusations. One quit after Elara locked her in the bathroom and turned off the lights. Another left when Noelle dumped an entire pot of soup onto the marble floor and smiled while it shattered. Brielle once turned the stove gas on just enough to smell, just enough to watch an adult panic. Alexander responds the only way he knows how. He raises his voice. He installs cameras. He threatens consequences he never follows through on because discipline feels too close to cruelty, and cruelty feels like failure. Therapists try. Child psychologists nod sympathetically and offer charts, strategies, schedules. The girls sit silent, eyes blank, refusing to engage. At night, Alexander walks past their rooms and hears nothing. No laughter. No whispered secrets. Just doors shut tight. His own bedroom is worse. The bed is too large, untouched on one side. Her pillow remains exactly where it was the day she died. He never moved it. Never washed it. It smells faintly like her shampoo if he presses his face into it long enough. Some nights, he does. Most nights, he works until exhaustion drags him under. The house staff keep their distance. They move carefully, quietly, as if grief is contagious. Everyone knows the triplets are difficult. Everyone knows the Kingsley home breaks people. One evening, Alexander comes home early, earlier than planned, earlier than usual. The sun is still up. He expects noise. Destruction. Another report waiting for him. Instead, the house is unnervingly silent. His chest tightens. Silence never means peace here. It means damage waiting to be discovered. He follows the sound of running water to the kitchen. Finds a shattered glass bowl on the counter. Food smeared on the walls. A mess so deliberate it hurts to look at. He closes his eyes. Something inside him breaks, not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet collapse. Later that night, after the girls are locked in their rooms and another nanny has quit without saying goodbye, Alexander sits alone in his study. The resignation letter rests on his desk, unread. He already knows what it says. I'm sorry. I tried. I can't do this anymore. Neither can he. For the first time since his wife's death, Alexander bows his head. He doesn't pray the way religious men do. He doesn't know how. But his voice comes out anyway. Low. Cracked. I don't know what to do anymore. The house doesn't answer. And for the first time, the most powerful man in the room admits the thought he has been running from. What if nothing can fix this? The decision is made quietly. No announcement. No hope attached to it. Alexander tells his assistant to hire another maid, not a nanny, not a specialist, not someone with impressive credentials. Just help. Someone temporary. Someone he expects to leave like the rest. He stops believing in miracles a long time ago. Serena Hale arrives on a gray morning with a single suitcase and eyes that don't roam the mansion the way others do. She doesn't gape at the marble floors or the chandeliers. She doesn't ask questions about the family. She simply nods, thanks the housekeeper, and listens. She is younger than Alexander expects, but not fragile. There is a quiet steadiness about her, the kind that doesn't demand attention. Her clothes are simple. Her voice softer than the echoing halls. Alexander barely looks at her when they meet. He gives instructions the way he gives orders in boardrooms, brief, distant, emotionally empty. My daughters are difficult, he says. Serena meets his eyes then. Not challenging. Not impressed. Just present. They're hurting, she replies gently. That's usually what difficult means. Something about the way she says it unsettles him. No pity. No accusation. Just truth. The girls test her immediately. They spill juice on the floor and wait for the reaction. Serena kneels down, hands them towels, and turns it into a race to see who can clean the fastest. They refuse to eat dinner. Serena eats anyway, humming softly, and offers bites without comment. When the food is dumped into the trash, she cooks again. They throw toys at her head. She ducks, smiles faintly, and keeps reading her book aloud as if nothing happened. By the third day, Alexander expects her gone. By the fifth, she's still there. He watches through the cameras late at night, curiosity replacing indifference. He sees Serena sitting on the floor with the girls, not commanding them to sleep, not bargaining. Just there. Still. Unmoving. Sometimes she speaks. Often she doesn't. She listens. On the seventh night, Brielle screams until her voice gives out. A sound born of rage and fear and exhaustion. Alexander stiffens in his study, heart pounding, ready for another disaster. Serena doesn't raise her voice. She sits beside the bed, takes Brielle's shaking hands, and whispers something Alexander can't hear. Later, he rewinds the footage, turning the volume up. It's okay to be angry, Serena says. But you don't have to be alone with it. The words hit him harder than he expects. The girls don't soften overnight. There are still messes. Still silence. Still sharp words meant to push Serena away. But something shifts. They stop trying to scare her. They start watching her instead. Ilara sits closer during story time. Noelle starts helping in the kitchen. Brielle lingers in doorways, unsure but curious. Serena never promises she'll stay forever. She just stays today. One evening, Alexander comes home later than usual and hears laughter. Real laughter. Soft, cautious, like something fragile testing the air. He freezes in the hallway. The girls are sitting around the table, flour on their hands, Serena kneeling beside them, showing them how to shape dough. Their faces are open. Unarmored. For a moment, Alexander can't breathe. Serena looks up and sees him watching. She doesn't scold the girls. She doesn't apologize. She simply says, they like routines. It helps them feel safe. Safe. The word echoes long after he retreats upstairs. For the first time in years, Alexander wonders if the problem was never the girls at all. Maybe it was the absence they learned to expect. And for the first time, possibility, small and terrifying, enters the house. The change does not arrive all at once. It never does. It comes in mornings that no longer begin with shouting. In plates that come back empty instead of overturned. In shoes lying neatly by the door because someone showed them how, once, and trusted them to remember. Serena builds days the way one builds shelter. With patience that does not ask for gratitude. Breakfast happens at the same time each morning. Oatmeal on Mondays. Eggs on Tuesdays. Pancakes on Fridays. The girls begin reminding her if she's late. After breakfast, they sit by the window and read. Not because they're told to. Because it happens every day, and predictability feels like safety. Alexander watches from a distance. Always from a distance. He pretends not to notice that he comes home earlier now. Pretends it's coincidence that meetings end before dinner. He tells himself he's only checking on progress. Only making sure nothing goes wrong. But he lingers at doorways longer than necessary. One night, he hears Serena praying softly with the girls before bed. Not loudly. Not theatrically. Just quiet words of gratitude. Thanks for the day. For warmth. For being together. She does not mention him. That somehow makes it worse. The girls begin to talk. Not to him, yet, but to Serena. In fragments. Half-truths. Complaints disguised as jokes. He always leaves, Noelle says once, stirring soup too hard. He never comes to see our shows, Brielle adds. Ilara stays quiet the longest. When she finally speaks, her voice is steady but brittle. Mom would have stayed. Serena doesn't correct them. She doesn't defend Alexander. She listens. Later, Alexander finds Serena in the kitchen after the girls are asleep. She's washing dishes by hand even though the house has a machine that could do it in silence. They miss her, she says gently, not looking at him. And they're afraid loving anyone else means losing her again. The words land with precision. That night, Alexander sits with his daughters for the first time since their mother's funeral. Not to lecture. Not to fix. Just to sit. They don't talk much. But Brielle leans against his arm. Noel watches him carefully. Elara pretends not to notice at all. It feels like standing on broken glass. Painful. Necessary. The breakthrough comes on an ordinary evening. Dinner is simple. The girls help cook. Flour smudges their faces. Laughter slips out before they can stop it. Alexander sits at the table, unsure where to put his hands, how to exist here. Serena lights a candle. Not for romance. For calm. They eat together. Midway through the meal, Elara drops her fork. It clatters loudly. Her face crumples before she can stop it. The sound triggers something deep and old. I don't want another nanny, she says suddenly, tears spilling. I don't want her to leave too. The room stills. Alexander's instinct is panic. Fear claws up his chest. He looks at Serena, bracing for her to explain, to reassure, to promise. She doesn't. She kneels beside Elara and says softly, I can't promise forever. But I can promise I'm here right now. Elara sobs into her shoulder. Alexander feels something in his chest crack open. Later that night, after the girls are asleep, he finds Serena in the hallway. He doesn't thank her. He doesn't know how. Instead, he says the truth. The one he's avoided for years. I don't know how to be what they need. Serena studies him for a long moment. Then learn, she says. They're still here. Hope settles in, not loud, not certain, but real. And for the first time, Alexander chooses to stay at the table instead of retreating to his study. Something fragile is forming. Something that could be lost. The past does not disappear just because healing begins. It waits. The trigger comes quietly, disguised as a date on the calendar. The anniversary of their mother's death arrives without warning, disguised as a date on the calendar. The anniversary of their mother's death arrives without warning. No alarms. No reminder spoken aloud. But the house feels it. The air grows heavier. The girls grow restless. Old habits creep back like shadows at dusk. Elara stops reading. Noel picks fights over nothing. Brielle refuses to sleep. Alexander feels it too. A familiar urge to escape, to book a flight, schedule meetings, be anywhere but here. That morning, he almost leaves. Serena notices before he says anything. They'll need you today, she says gently as he reaches for his coat. I don't know how to do this, he replies, voice tight. Neither do they, she says. That's why it matters. He stays. It is not enough. The girls unravel by afternoon. A vase shatters against the wall. Voices rise. Brielle locks herself in the bathroom, sobbing so hard she can't breathe. Alexander snaps. Enough, he shouts, the word echoing too loudly, too sharply. The girls freeze. The same look flashes across all three faces, fear mixed with certainty. He's leaving again. Elara's voice cuts through the silence like glass. You always do this. You pretend, and then you disappear. Just like everyone else. Something inside Alexander collapses. Serena steps between them, not defensively, but firmly. They're not attacking you, she says softly. They're begging you. The girls break then. All at once. Words pour out, accusations, grief, confusion tangled together. We lost Mom. And you were never here. We thought if we were bad, you'd stay. Alexander's knees buckle. He sinks into a chair, hands shaking. For the first time, he doesn't argue. Doesn't explain. Doesn't justify. I was wrong, he whispers. I thought staying strong meant staying away. The girls don't forgive him. Not yet. That night, Brielle refuses Serena's bedtime story. Noel won't eat. Elara packs a bag with trembling hands, stuffing toys inside. I'm going to leave before you do, she says flatly. Serena kneels in front of her, eyes wet but steady. I know what that feels like, she says quietly. The girls look at her. My parents died when I was young, Serena continues. I was moved from house to house. Every time I started to belong, I lost it. Silence. I learned to leave first too, she admits. Elara's bag slips from her hands. Serena hugs her, not tightly, not urgently. Just enough. Later, Alexander finds Serena alone in the chapel room his wife once loved. The small Bible rests open on the bench. I didn't know, he says. She smiles faintly. You weren't supposed to. He hesitates. Then asks the question he's been afraid of. Why are you still here? Serena meets his gaze. Because someone stayed for me once. And it saved my life. That night, the girls sleep in their beds. Not peacefully. But together. Alexander sits outside their doors until morning. He doesn't leave. Everything feels raw. Unresolved. Exposed. But for the first time, the truth is no longer hidden. And surrender, real surrender, has begun. Time moves differently after surrender. Months pass, not marked by grand changes, but by small, stubborn choices repeated daily. Alexander rearranges his life the way one dismantles a fortress, slowly, intentionally, brick by brick. Meetings move later. Flights are canceled. Dinner becomes sacred. Bedtime stories are not delegated. The girls notice everything. They test less. Laugh more. They argue like children who believe someone will stay long enough to hear them out. Elara starts drawing again. Pictures of 4 figures holding hands. Noel joins a school choir and insists Alexander attend every performance. Brielle sleeps through the night for the first time in years. Serena remains steady. Present. Unassuming. She never asks for permanence. Alexander begins to fear losing her more than he ever feared being alone. One evening, nearly a year after Serena arrives, the girls sit around the kitchen table with unusual seriousness. Elara clears her throat like an adult. We talked, she says. Alexander tenses. We want Serena to stay, Noel adds. Like, really stay. Brielle nods fiercely. As family. The word lands gently. Powerfully. Alexander looks at Serena. She looks back, eyes soft but cautious. I don't want to be a replacement, Serena says quietly. I don't want to take something sacred. Elara steps forward and takes her hand. You didn't replace Mom. You taught us how to breathe again. Alexander feels tears burn his eyes. Later, when the house is quiet, he finds Serena on the terrace. The city lights glow in the distance. I don't know how to ask this without ruining it, he says. She waits. Stay, he says simply. Not because I need you to fix us. But because we choose each other. Every day. Serena thinks for a long moment. Then nods. I choose that. The wedding is small. No headlines. No spectacle. Just a garden, 4 chairs in the front row, and laughter carried on the wind. Years later, a photograph hangs in the hallway, 4 hands intertwined, one family built not by blood alone, but by staying. Alexander passes it every morning on his way out the door. And every evening, he comes home. Because love, he learns, is not found. It is chosen. Every single day.